Let me start to answer. Indeed, our aim is not only to freeze, but to seize the assets. This is the aim. This is what the legal basis is concerned, not trivial. So, as you rightly said already, we are working on that. We have created a task force with all the experts, also from our member states and international experts, which is called Seize and Freeze Task Force, not only to map what is out there, has been frozen, but also what are the legal preconditions that have to be given to be able to seize and use these assets, for example, for the reconstruction of Ukraine. So my answer is a mixed one. The will is there, but legally it is not trivial. There's a lot of work still in it to reach that goal. Very important is always to keep in mind, we insist on the rule of law, and therefore we abide to the rule of law, and therefore this process has to be legally sound.
This is my first video update coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Wednesday morning. Let's talk about some news. And you saw the opening video segment with Ursula van der Crazy. And who else was there? Michelle. I think that was Schultz also in that video. And they were talking about how to steal those Russian assets. The Russian assets that have been frozen. And what did Ursula say? It's not about freezing, it's about seizing. Seizing, of course, just means stealing. When she says seize, she means to steal. That's what she's talking about. I wonder if I have the actual quote here as well. I mean, you saw the video, but let me make sure I get the quote right. Seize, not freeze. There should be a rule in Europe, in the EU. Don't use the word freeze. Let's stay away from the word freeze. That's probably not the best word to use. But she said, our aim is not only to freeze, but to seize the assets. Because Russia's economy is in tatters, I tell you, in tatters. So we have to steal their assets. Now, she did say that doing this will require some bending of the law, and that's what they're trying to figure out right now. The European Union is trying to figure out a way to legally, quote unquote, legally steal these assets. What a bunch of pirates, bunch of thieves. The will is there, but legally it is not trivial. There is still a lot of work to reach that goal. Ursula reiterated, noting that the EU adheres to the rule of law, and therefore this process has to be legally sound, of course. The EU, when the EU steals, it makes sure it steals legally. Right? We're going to steal the assets, but we're going to find a legal way to do it. And if there's no legal way to do it, well, we'll make up a legal way to do it. We'll pass a law and make it legal. The EU now makes it legal to seize assets from Russian citizens. That's a new law. There we go. And it's binding across all EU member states as of today. Finished, finito. Now we can take the assets. So, yeah. Keep in mind that anyone that is cheering this on, keep in mind that whatever they're doing to Russians by stealing their assets, they're going to do to us, to all the EU citizens and businesses, and anyone else that they want to take money from. Once they figure out a way to seize Russian assets legally seize Russian assets, i.e. steal this stuff, once they find a way to legally justify this, well then, what stops them from seizing MBS's assets? What stops them from seizing, I don't know, Erdogan's assets or anybody's assets? What stops them from seizing the assets of a bank? of depositors. They're not stealing, according to Ursula, they're seizing. Right? Not about freezing, it's about seizing. The economy is in tatters, I tell you. They're taking microchips from dishwashers and using them in their fighter jets. It's in tatters. Just give Ukraine another 8 billion and they're going to win. Isn't that what Ursula was telling us? Wasn't Ursula telling us that US LNG is going to solve all of the gas problems? Now there's like a big, like the LNG, all the tankers, there's like a big clog up because you have like 30, I've read 30 to 60 tankers. I don't know which one it is. I've read 30 to 60 tankers are just sitting around outside of the European Union and they're just waiting to offload the gas, right? They're just sitting there because everything's clogged up. And of course, this is costing money. And this is driving the price of gas way, way up. But yeah, that's Ursula. Another, this seize not freeze idea is another brilliant one coming from Vander Crazy. So yeah, you know, what's going to stop the EU from seizing whatever the hell they want after this Russia thing is approved and passed? Boy, do they want that money. They want that money so bad. And the other thing that this does is that this is going to, it's going to discourage very wealthy, very, very wealthy investors from parking their money in the European Union because, well, it could be seized at any time, according to Vander Crazy. So it's going to have that effect. And I imagine that the very, very wealthy people, the princes, the Saudi princes and the oligarchs, they're going to start to move their money out of the European Union once they see that they're seizing Russian assets. It's not stealing when the EU does it. It's seizing, right? So, yeah. Why are they doing this? Because they're losing the war. That's why. They have to get their hands on this money fast. Losing the war, the economic war they've lost. The Economist hates Russia. The Economist is saying that the Russian economy is on the upswing. This is the neocon Economist that despises Putin, despises Russia. They had to admit last week that the Russian economy is, well, it's recovering. It's doing pretty good. The IMF, they had to admit the Russian economy, well, it's doing pretty good. It's recovering. It's on the upswing. Meanwhile, what's happening to Europe? What's happening to the collective West? Recession. Bloomberg the other day said that the EU is heading towards recession. It's already in a recession, but when they say that the EU is heading towards recession, they mean it's already in a recession, but, you know, we're just kind of letting everybody know that it's coming. So they've lost. The European Union, specifically the European Union, they've completely lost the economic war. And yet they're going to come out with a 9th sanctions package or a 10th sanctions package. I've lost count at this point. Oh, and Vander Crazy's number one priority is to stop cooperation with China. Yeah. So that was the latest statements from the EU. They want this money. They want this money quick because everything is falling apart. And they want to get their hands on the cash before it all crumbles. That's it. Period. Plain and simple. We've got all these billions sitting there. We're getting pummeled in the economic war. We've lost. Pretty soon, Russia is going to do something very big on the ground in Ukraine. Let's get our lawyers on this so that we can find a way to legally seize these frozen assets and come out of this Ukraine business a lot richer. That's the plan for Ursula and and her crew, her buddies, the elite. Those elites, yeah. So, Boris Johnson, well, Boris Johnson has a new role. Instead of being prime minister, according to the Financial Times, we're going to have the Boris Clown World Roadshow. He's going to be traveling to the US of A. Remember that movie Borat? Borat Visits America? Or Beavis and Butthead Do America? Remember those movies? Well, now we have Boris Does America. So Boris Johnson is going to be traveling to the United States. He's going to hang out in the US of A. And his only task is to convince the American people, and he means the DC elite, the Washington swamp elite, to convince them that they need to continue to pour money into Ukraine and into the bank account of his BFF Zelensky. That's his task. He's going to be traveling to America now to make sure that the money continues to flow to Ukraine. And once it flows into Ukraine, it flows right out of Ukraine, right? It goes into Ukraine and then it goes right out. But that's what he's going to be doing now with his days. So Boris is going to be going to America. Boris Does America. That's what he's been tasked to do by his globalist handlers, his puppet masters. Yeah, they're all cashing out, you know? It's all about cashing out. As this thing winds down, as Russia is about to drop the hammer in the next month or 2 months, whenever it's going to be, it's time for everybody to start cashing in and cashing out. So let's just get whatever money we can get. Let's get it in there. Then let's get it out. Ukraine is saying that they need something like $8 billion a month to keep things going, and they're like running a deficit of something like $4 billion or something like that, and they're saying that Germany can give us $500 million, Australia's going to chip in, and they're going to give money, and they're just kind of collecting money from everybody, right? Whatever billions we can collect, let's get it all in there. That was a statement that Zelensky gave the other day. Let's just get whatever money we can in here. Come on, everybody, contribute. I'm passing the tray around, put whatever billions you have, and let's get it into the country before it all crumbles. The other big news topic was that Democrat letter, the 30 Democrats, you know, the squad and all of the cool kid Democrats that wrote to Bidenopolis and told him we want peace, but we support the neocons. That was pretty much the letter. We want peace in Ukraine, but we support the neocon policy. That was it. Well, it wasn't enough to please the neocons. And the neocons put the hammer down on the squad and all these Democrats. And so they rescinded the letter. As a matter of fact, they even said that the letter was sent out by accident. They retracted the letter. And they said it was sent out by accident. It was kind of given to a staffer, Pramila Jayapal, who spearheaded this whole little letter thing. She said it was given to like a staffer or something like that, and the staffer kind of put the letter out there, and it was all one big misunderstanding, right? You can't make this stuff up. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. In a statement, Jayapal blamed staffers for releasing the letter. She went on to explain that the letter was pulled as it created the unfortunate appearance that the progressives were aligning with the growing minority of Republican lawmakers talking about reducing aid to Ukraine. Basically, the deep state, they called her up and they called up all these Democrats and they said, there is no talk about peace. You guys are ruining the game talking about peace, even mentioning peace. Yeah, you kissed our butts. You said that our policy in Ukraine is right. You said that we should send money and weapons and continue to support the Zelensky regime. You even called the Zelensky regime a democratic sovereign regime. That's what the letter said. It said that the Zelensky regime is democratic and sovereign. right? You even called it that, but that's still not enough. Just even mentioning the word peace, it ruins the game. It ruins the grift. So they put the hammer down on Jayapal and the other 29 Democrats, and, well, they had to retract the letter. Can't make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. And what did they say? They said that that they're now fully on board with the Ukraine policy. Fully on board. Send weapons. Send tons of money. Send tons of money to Zelensky. And this is a quote. Every war ends with diplomacy, and this one will too after a Ukrainian victory. This is what Jayapal said. That's some quote, huh? Yeah, so much for the anti-war left, huh? The anti-war progressive squad. So much for that. They're fully on board with the neo-libs and the neocons. I mean, this Biden administration, this current government in the United States is like neocon, neoliberal, warmonger, central. I mean, they are completely aligned, the neocons and the neolibs, and they're just full on war and escalation. So that's the story with regards to this letter. So forget the letter. Staffer mistake. More war, more escalation. Give Zelensky more billions. 8 billion? Give him 18 billion. Let's pass the 50 billion new budget for Ukraine. Let's pass that. Let's put 50 billion in there so that we could dish out more to Ukraine. What else do we have here? Oh boy. Steinmeier, German President Steinmeier. I feel like this whole video should be one big clown world, but I've still got a clown world actually. But the German president, I said in a video about a week ago that the German president, who has not visited Kiev and bowed down to the altar of globalism in the form of Zelensky. Zelensky is the avatar. Ukraine is the avatar of globalism. That's why you find the collective West and all of these elites so much in support of Ukraine, because it is globalism. That's what it represents for them. Anyway, the German president, he has still not traveled to Kiev and bowed down to Zelensky, and he was supposed to travel last week, but that trip was called off because of the drones and missile strikes that were taking out the electric grid. And I want to cross here, but I'm going to have to be careful. Anyway, okay, now I can cross here. So the trip was canceled. It was called off for safety concerns because the Russians were pummeling the electric grid in Kiev and throughout Ukraine. Well, it looks like Steinmeier eventually did make it to Kiev. And the other day he was in Kiev and he visited some other cities as well. He had to hide out in a bunker at one point in time because there were some missiles or some kamikaze drones hitting Ukraine, central Ukraine. But he made it to Kiev. He managed to bow down and pray at the Zelensky altar, pledge his support for Ukraine, and there you have it. So the German president has done his deed. He's fulfilled his obligation. And I wonder if, first of all, I don't know if he was even in Kiev. I mean, okay, we have photos of like the train pulling into the station and all of these photos and video footage. But who knows? Maybe he traveled to London instead. I don't know. Maybe the whole train pulling up at the station thing is also, you know, part of this massive like studio soundstage or something. This studio setup. Maybe they have trains and all kinds of stuff like that, where they can take the photos and pretend that they're they're in Kiev. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? Anyway, they tried to provide the video and the photo footage. On a serious note, he was forced to seek shelter during his visit to Ukraine, according to Anton Gedachenko, an advisor to Ukraine's interior minister. The alarm was raised as the German president was talking to the media in the northern Ukrainian city of Chernigov. The official said it was a very good illustration why Ukrainian needs more air defense systems as soon as possible. Berlin pledged to send state-of-the-art Iris-T air defense systems to Ukraine back in June. Only one of the 4 promised units has been delivered so far. On Monday, Chancellor Scholz vowed to deliver the remaining 3 as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of people speculating that this visit was done to speed up the sending of these air defense systems. And perhaps, I'm not saying this is the case, perhaps this whole hiding in the bunker thing and the photos that came out from the German president hiding in the bunker is meant to manufacture more consent, more support for the conflict, and in order to speed up the sending of these air defense systems. There is that speculation. I can't tell. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on. I'm just walking around Cyprus here, making a video. So that is the German president and his visit to somewhere to meet Zelensky and push for more air defense missile systems to go to Ukraine. And let's do a clown world. I'm just seeing a headline here: Raytheon making billions from the Ukraine conflict. American arms manufacturer, which makes the Nassam and Javelin missiles supplied to Kiev, inked billions worth of contracts in Q3. US-based Raytheon Technologies, one of the largest aerospace and defense manufacturers in the world by revenue and market share capitalization, posted a near 5% year-on-year surge in third quarter revenues on Tuesday. Company sales grew to $16.95 billion during the period, based largely on its missile and defense contracts, thanks in part to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, as well as rising air travel demand, which buoyed parts and services sales. Someone is doing well from this conflict in Ukraine. Let's do a cloud world, and we'll wrap this one up. This abandoned house. Prime location for this house, abandoned, but it's like sitting right on a major street. It's been there for years, just abandoned. Let's see. A driver in Hamburg was fined 2,400 euros for sticking a sheet of paper with a Z symbol on the rear window of his car. The 62-year-old man appealed to the court's decision and now has to pay a significantly higher fine. The Hamburg District Court sentenced him to a fine of 80 daily rates of 50 euros or 4,000 euros. The defendant did not deny that he had affixed the symbol to his car, but claimed the Z was simply a letter of the Latin alphabet. 4,000 euros in Hamburg. That's the fine if you put a Z on your car. It's not just a letter in the alphabet. This guy should have known that the Z is prohibited. It is prohibited. No Z's around. Hence the name Zelensky. You cannot use Z. Z is banned, especially in Hamburg. If you dare to use Z, well then, you get fined 50 euros a day. Wow. 50 euros a day every time you use the word Z, every time you use the letter Z. Good thing I call him Zelensky and not Zelensky. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. Those are the two quick clown worlds. The Duran.locals.com. This whole video could have been a clown world. No, this whole video could have been one big clown world. The Duran.locals.com. Look for us on Rockfin and Telegram, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and where else? And that's it. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's main channel. I just did a circle around the block, and now I'm going to go grab a coffee somewhere and get this video up. Take care.